Mrs. J was one of my very first patients when I entered the hospice service. She was a joy. She was already in her 90s, had had a very active life, obviously a very strong pioneer woman. And I remember we were talking many times. She would talk about her faith. She would talk about how precious her husband had been. And she had one son who lived next door to her who was very good to help take care of her. And I asked her one time, I said, have you ever had any other children? And her face got very sad for a moment, and then it brightened up. She said, yeah, I had 2 daughters. She said, I had 2 twin girls. And on the day that they were born, one of them passed away. The other one had some very hard struggles, and not too many days after that, she passed also. She said, and the cemetery was fairly new at the city that we were at, and they just planted some new trees. And so we got their headstones, and they're at those trees, right at the very bottom of those little trees. Well, many years later, I happened to go out and go by that cemetery, and I thought, I wonder if I could find them under those trees. And I walked around, and finally I realized we're talking 40, 50 years ago. So I started looking under the big trees, and I dug down underneath the tree and found this little headstone with these 2 little girls' names on it and their dates of birth and going to heaven. And I cleaned it all up and put some flowers on it and took a picture of it. And I took that over to her and presented her with that picture. And I did not realize what a big deal that was. It was hundreds of miles from where she was living, and she hadn't been to that cemetery in probably 40 years. It was probably one of the best things I did. And I will tell you, that was just purely a hunch. I had no intentions. I just thought, hey, that would be a neat thing to do. So I tell you, whenever you get a hunch on something that might be important to somebody, take the time and do it. It may be the most important thing you do all year long. So here I am again. I had to stop by and say hello to those little girls. Somebody has left some flowers there. So I'm glad to see that, although I don't know there was any other family. But those little trees, well, they've gotten bigger now. But I just want to say, don't miss the opportunity to show somebody your care and your love, because it matters.